Okay, it's the quarterfinals in the Prismatic Draft League. We're heading to the end of this very fun season. I've already, of course, uploaded my own set on Monday, but now it's time to see how the rest of the bracket shook out, and there's not really much more to do for this round than to just jump right in. So we'll start with the first set that was played this week. Mine was second. This is the other one on our side of the bracket, of course. The Cryptic Cryogonals taking on the drowsy Torkoals. The Cryogonals have pretty much the typical mix of Pokemon that we've seen from this team throughout the season. I definitely could see the Crocodile putting in a lot of work against Pokemon like Torkoal and Lycanroc, and really anything else except maybe the Shiftry. If the Torkoals fail to get Trick Room up, I guess the Lilligant is a problem for it too, but you pair that with the Kilowattrel, you have a very strong duo. I could see Discquake working pretty well into a lot of this team, but also just, of course, Kilowattrel able to set Tailwind for the awkward speed control matchups. You could match the Noivern's Tailwind if they brought it, although they didn't. But also it's an offensive check to the likes of Lilligant, Shiftry, and Clawitzer. Then you have the Gardevoir, then you have the Arcanine, then you have the Gyarados. This is very typical Cryptic Cryogonal stuff, right? I don't necessarily know what role each of these Pokemon is going to play this week. It can be hard to tell at preview. But you know they're very strong Pokemon that can take hits from a lot of these opponents and hit very hard back. And they're all going to be supported somehow by the Klefki. I would not at all be surprised to see Rain Dance this time, given that the Torkoals have two weather modes in their draft, neither one of which is rain, so Rain Dance Klefki could disrupt either the snow mode, which we don't see here, or the sun mode, which we do. But then Klefki also has its usual bag of tricks, Thunder Wave, Screens. It could just be offensive. We've seen that from the Cryogonals before. On the Torkoal side, we have the Sun duo of Lilligant and Torkoal, which makes a lot of sense. Even just a simple after you Eruption combo can hit a lot of the Cryogonals roster very hard. Obviously you need something then for the Gyarados and the Arcanine, but a lot of their other Pokemon don't take that very well. And you also compare the Torkoal with the Oranguru for Trick Room game plan, and then the Clawitzer will hit very hard. There's probably, the Clawitzer obviously brings coverage for the Arcanine. Torkoal also could be running Earth Power. There's probably some kind of coverage for the Gyarados in here too. And then, of course, there's the Lycanroc. It does have to watch out for Intimidate. There are 3 possible Intimidate users on the other side. It is possible that it's Clear Amulet Lycanroc. That wouldn't surprise me at all in this matchup. But that, again, could be a strong offensive check to Pokemon like Arcanine and Gyarados that give some of its teammates trouble, right? Because those are both weak to its Rock Stab. It gets Accelerock in case the speed control game is going badly. It also hits hard into Kilowattrel and Gardevoir, just because Gardevoir is not that physically bulky, I think, probably, if I remember correctly. The Shiftry actually looks a tiny bit odd to me here, because, Shiftry has been sort of, in my mind, the face of this team for a while now. It's we've seen it put in a lot of work week after week with a few different game plans, but most of those have involved activating Wind Power with the Noivern. So I'm not sure what Shiftry does here, but I think there's a good chance that we finally see it show off its older ability, Chlorophyll. No longer getting a power boost in Tailwind, but still able to play a strong speed control game next to Torkoal. I don't know why it wouldn't be Chlorophyll Shiftry, actually, given that there's definitely no Tailwind here. But let's see what game plans each of them has. Panda saying in chat, I ran it back. So honestly, I maybe have covered a set between these two in the regular season where Panda brought these exact 6 Pokemon. If so, I don't remember. I've watched a lot of sets this season. I don't remember all of them. But maybe more information is available in one of the earlier videos from this season, and I'm just forgetting. Anyway, Lilligant Torkoal lead against Klefki and Gyarados. Will we see a Rain Dance? Not yet. It's Calm Mind Klefki, but it's also Terra Stellar Torkoal, so if this is an Eruption coming out, it's going to hit a little bit harder. Gyarados avoids a Sleep Powder. It's actually Weather Ball Torkoal. Still hits the Klefki pretty hard, but Klefki with the Occa Berry, that's a very nice tech when you know you're very likely to be playing against Torkoal. Yeah, Klefki still took a lot of damage. It should survive another... maybe it doesn't, actually. I don't know the math. Yeah, that was a bold Calm Mind from that Klefki. I'm not really sure how it's going to work out for it. The Torkoal... it won't get the Stellar Boost, so it also won't get the Occa Nerf. It seems like it's just doing too much damage. But now we see Terra Dragon on the Klefki, and it knocks out Lilligant and chips Torkoal with a Dazzling Gleam. It takes the Weather Ball better now, but that still does a lot. Klefki is getting worn down quickly. But I guess you don't lead with this Klefki if it's a late game win con. Torkoal now out to Shiftry. We also see Lycanroc. Gyarados still just protecting. Lycanroc showing that Accelerock, trying to finish the Klefki off, and there it is. So yeah, Klefki took, even with the Calm Mind and the Dragon Terra, Klefki took so much damage from that Torkoal. Gyarados has been attacking things with Ice Fang. I guess I haven't mentioned that yet. That actually, I'm guessing it's, no, it's not choiced because it's been using Protect. Maybe it's avoiding the Sun nerf to water attacks, but yeah. The Ice Fang did pretty reasonable damage to Lycanroc. And now we get Gardevoir in. Gardevoir copies, I don't actually know how Trace works. I guess it's not like Imposter where you copy what's directly in front of you, because there's no reason it wouldn't be able to copy Tough Claws, right? But it does get Shifttree's Chlorophyll, confirming that Shifttree has that ability, but I think that was pretty obvious. But now Gardevoir benefits speed-wise from the Sun, and it knocks out Shifttree and Lycanroc. Torkoal comes in, Gardevoir clicking Dazzling Gleam, and I don't see Life Orb damage, so Gardevoir's probably choiced, but that still does a lot. Torkoal not that specially bulky. We see a Waterfall come out from Gyarados. His weakness policy Torkoal, but at such low HP that Eruption is still not hitting very hard, and Gardevoir will close this game out. So pretty commanding win in Game 1 for the Cryptic Cryogonals. But again, the Lycanroc, there is some upside here for the Torkoals. They didn't let the Klefki get set up and do very much. And the Lycanroc is still looking like a strong offensive check to a lot of these Pokemon. It is Intimidate Gyarados, right? Yes, it is. But even so, if you could position the Lycanroc somewhat better, I could definitely see Game 2 playing out differently. But let's see. Torkoal leading with Lilligant again, this time against Gardevoir and Crocodile. Gardevoir getting Chlorophyll from the Lilligant this time. Torkoal goes Terra Stellar again, and it's just after you Eruption immediately. Lilligant, very fast Pokemon, still faster than the Gardevoir when both of them have Chlorophyll, and that's just 2 KOs right off the bat. And now we see Gyarados and Arcanine coming in. You can't just Erupt into those, but we'll see what Panda does have planned. Gyarados just protecting. After you Earth Power, there goes Arcanine. Torkoal just ripping through this team here in Game 2. That Weather Ball, I mean, Gyarados resists and is especially bulky, so yeah, it doesn't do too much, but it's still damage. And now Torkoal gets his weakness policy boost. This next Weather Ball is going to hit much harder. It almost KOs. You see a Citrus Berry on the Gyarados, but it's still not taking another Weather Ball. And Lilligant has the speed control locked down here with the After You. So even though the Gardevoir copied Chlorophyll again, yeah, this was all Lilligant pretty much literally running away with this game, as Torkoal just absolutely cooked the Cryptic Cryogonals. There's not much else to say. That was a pretty quick one. So we are going to Game 3 here, and we'll see what the Cryogonals have in store. I don't think there's Rain Dance on the Klefki. I think we would have seen it by now. The Gyarados is obviously the best answer to Torkoal, now that Earth Power is confirmed especially. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that leading, or switching in quickly if it's another Lilligant Torkoal lead in this game. But we didn't see a whole lot else of what either coach had in mind for Game 2, so let's just jump into Game 3 right now. It's Clawitzer and Oranguru now. Okay, so Panda, after that commanding win, I think knows that Trico is going to adjust. And sure enough, Trico leading Gyarados here with Crocodile. Crocodile probably is not going to want to take an Eruption, but Gyarados, again, is the best answer they've got. But yeah, Panda just mixing it up, throwing a whole different look at them. So, trying to catch them off balance. But Terra Dragon and Terra Ground immediately. I guess the Oranguru is, the Oranguru probably wants to set Trick Room here to get the Clawitzer going. So I guess the reason it terrestrializes here is it doesn't want to be knocked out by something like a knockoff from Crocodile. Even a double up with Crunch Gyarados. We've seen Crunch Gyarados before, so it's just changing its defensive profile there to try to get through this turn, I think. The Crocodile Terra Dragon, probably worried about a Water Pulse coming from the Clawitzer. But yeah, Clawitzer protects. The knockoff goes into it. But Gyarados taunts the Oranguru, so the Trick Room is denied. And that's pretty bad for Panda. Again, I think the point of that Terra was just to get through that one turn and get the Trick Room up. They got through the turn, but they didn't get the Trick Room. The taunt Gyarados, a really nice touch here from Reckless Trico. Given that Panda has brought that Trick Room component in a lot of teams in a lot of weeks this season. Now we see the Shift Tree come in, as Crocodile just goes for an Earthquake. Gyarados, of course, is immune. It doesn't do a whole lot to the other Pokemon. Shift Tree will resist this Waterfall, but it does still take almost half. Crocodile no longer weak to the Aura Sphere, but with a Life Orb and Mega Launcher, that's still doing pretty significant damage, I think. And now Clawitzer switching out. Oranguru is back in, and it's not taunted this time. Trico just protecting, getting the positioning right, and Crocodile showing the close combat, knocking the Shift Tree out. This is something we've seen a lot from Reckless Trico, especially in recent weeks. The just bringing just the right coverage move for the matchup and finding openings that are hard to deal with, because a lot of these Pokemon, Gyarados, Arcanine, Crocodile, Gardevoir, get a lot of different coverage options. The Trico has done really well at finding the right ones. And we see that again here. The Shift Tree goes down. The problem with Oranguru terastallizing, again, I understand the play because it was worried about Dark-type attacks coming out turn 1, but given that its Terra-type is ground, I'm not necessarily sure why it's ground this week. It might be trying to snipe the Arcanine, it might be trying to play against the Kilowattrel somehow, maybe anticipating Pokemon like Kilowattrel and Klefki in the lead. I don't know specifically what the ground is for, but trying to turn that matchup around somehow. But in any case, you terastallize your Oranguru to get through possible Dark-type attacks turn 1. You've already set your Terra-type ahead of time. You're stuck now as a Ground-type, and of course you're weak to Gyarados' stab. That's what I was trying to get across there. Throws off an Energy Ball, but Gyarados is taking hits really well, and Clawitzer is probably not about to change that. Earthquake damage is adding up. Oranguru taunted again. Honestly, Gyarados could have just knocked it out there, but fine to play it a little safer. Clawitzer does knock out Crocodile with that Aura Sphere. The crit didn't matter, obviously, but Clawitzer now is going to drop to its own Life Orb after one more attack, and I don't think it's threatening to KO Gyarados with anything. And now the Gardevoir is in. That can just knock out Oranguru. Gyarados can just knock out Clawitzer. Have we seen what's in the back? I don't think we have. It's the Torkoal. Okay. Torkoal is not going to hold up against these two Pokemon, especially with the Gardevoir clicking Psychic this time instead of Dazzling Gleam. Yeah. Gyarados missing an Ice Fang is kind of a nice touch, as Torkoal will get a chance to damage Gardevoir, but it doesn't KO. And what is going on in the chat there? But anyway, Gardevoir will close this one out. In the end, it all in the end comes back to Gyarados giving me wins I didn't deserve. I don't know what you mean by that, Reckless Trico. I'm hesitating to say I disagree because I might be misunderstanding what you're saying. I'm sure you'll show up in the comments with a thought about that, but like, you drafted the Gyarados, and it's covered a lot of important matchups for your team throughout the season, and it's doing that again here. It was one of the most difficult Pokemon for your opponent to deal with, and you recognized that, and made them try to deal with it. I don't know what is undeserving about that. But, yeah, the Torkoals, I really think they needed the Lycanroc. I mean, I guess they tried to go for a Trick Room game plan in this game. It's an interesting... I don't know, it's a bold move, right? After they went fast speed control and swept through game 2 with that. I sort of understand it as that's what Trico is going to be preparing for now. So I'm going to bring something they're not prepared for and try to catch them off guard, but that just meant that Trico's team was faster, and okay, taunt Gyarados, I don't think it had shown that before in the set, but it's not the craziest thing. So I don't know what the right answer there for the Torkoals was, and it's hard for me to, Monday morning quarterback this thing when they're the one in the moment having to actually play it. But I feel like the Lycanroc was actually fairly important to closing this out. You might have wanted a faster game plan that incorporated it somehow, or even if you're bringing Trick Room, right? Accelerock doesn't care about Trick Room. Lycanroc can still try to snipe some KOs with that. The Torkoal was not really very convincing as the last Pokemon there, so that's just my nitpick. But again, it's easy to chirp on Monday when you're not there actually doing the prep and playing the set yourself. And another huge win for the Cryptic Cryogonals. They will advance to the semifinals. They will face, of course, my opponent, the Phalanx, in the semifinals. Two teams that are really hard to play against because they're just so well-rounded and they hit so hard with so many threats. It's going to be fascinating to see who comes out of that one. And since I didn't say it yet, of course, you can watch a first-person perspective on this set on the channel Reckless Trico, which I will link in the description. And you can also come back next week and watch first-person perspective on that semifinal set. But now, of course, there's still the other side of the bracket to deal with. Both of these sets were actually played just today. And it starts with the Peaceful Porygons taking on the regional Reshirams. And by just today, of course, I mean Monday. I think it's been pretty clear that that's when I'm recording this, even though it'll go up later. Okay. The Porygons have the Sun duo of Jumpluff and Charizard, the Trick Room duo of Mimikyu and Ursaluna, and then some interesting spare parts around them. It makes a lot of sense. I like Trick Room in this matchup because even though the Reshirams have at least the beginning of a strong Trick Room core, they really haven't been leaning that hard on it throughout the season, so Ursaluna could definitely flip the script, especially when they've gone in a faster direction with the recent pickups of Riolu and Cinderace. That kind of implies they're probably not bringing Trick Room. And then also, we just see the two Pokemon that have been dominating the league. I believe top two in regular season KOs, the Charizard and the Ursaluna, and we've seen the Peaceful Porygons so effectively build, I keep saying build multiple layers of threats into their teams. I don't know how else to put it. Like, they bring teams where if you don't cover the Charizard just right, it can beat you. But if you do cover the Charizard just right, then the Ursaluna might beat you. But if you adjust for the Ursaluna, now the Charizard might beat you again, or the Hitmonlee, which isn't here, but we've seen it in some weeks. I don't know how to put it, except that there are just layers on top of layers that make this team really difficult to play against. So, yeah, and I mean, the Charizard is offensively threatened by Jolteon. It might have to play a careful speed control game against the likes of Cinderace and even Braviary, and we do see the Primarina on the Reshiram side, which I feel like we haven't seen much of lately. But I know Robbie knows how to position this Charizard, and if he finds any kind of opening, we might just see the other team get cooked. I don't necessarily know what the Electros is here for. I could see it playing some more speed control with Electro Web, maybe even trying to paralyze things with Discharge. Electros could be a Disquake partner next to Ursaluna, since it has Levitate. They're both immune to each other's components of that attacking combo. It's also an offensive threat to Primarina. And then Cetoddle, I'm really surprised to see here in the playoffs. Yeah, I don't know what I make of that one. But on the Reshiram side, we are finally going to see what the duo of Riolu and Cinderace can do. We also have Gallade as a possible coaching recipient, and genuinely great offensive threat into Pokemon like Ursaluna. We have Braviary, able to set Tailwind, able to hit pretty much any of these Pokemon hard. The Mimikyu might actually be valuable to slowing down some of that offense from this team. And then the Jolteon, Jolteon really doesn't want to run into Ursaluna, but it is a serious threat to Charizard, so a few different ways they can play this. Let's see what they go with. Mimikyu and Electros leading, okay, against Primarina and Riolu. Interesting leads on both sides. Primarina just goes straight for Terra Water, rips off a Hyper Voice, does not do very much to Electros, though. The Mimikyu hits back hard with Play Rough. It's not Prankster Riolu. Okay, what do I want to say here? The Regional Reshiram's coach has been in this league for a long time. I think since the beginning. So longer than I have, because I joined in Season 2. And has, on occasion, mistakenly brought a wrong move or a wrong ability because something changed in the builder and he didn't notice or something like that. I actually benefited from this when we played in the quarterfinals of Season 2, all the way back then when his Gallade had Nightshade instead of Night Slash. I don't think the non-prankster Riolu is intentional. The chat will probably let me know in a moment, but if that's just a mix-up in the builder, that's really unfortunate. Anyway, Primarina goes down. Also, the Rain Dance, of course, would have buffed the Terra Water Hyper Voice, and Electros, okay, it used Wild Charge, so that damages Recoil. It doesn't have a Life Orb. I wouldn't be surprised if it has an Assault Vest. I mean, I don't think it's that bulky. It didn't take that much from the Hyper Voice. But yeah, that would have hit harder with the Rain. Of course, Electros would still take it and knock Primarina out, but Yeah, that's really unfortunate. I think I don't know what the real lose ability is, but I think it was supposed to be Prankster. Here's the Gallade. It just drops to a play rough. As Riolu goes for coaching. Yeah, so that game plan is pretty scuffed now. You see it's Eviolite Riolu. Life Orb Cinderace. It will Terra Bug, and it will get a coaching. No, it's not Terra Bug. It's Libero. They already used their Terra. Libero turns the Cinderace into a Bug type. But of course, it can't switch out, so it's just stuck being a Bug type now. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing here, but if it's not what you want, it's what you're stuck with. Anyway, the Cinderace can only get 2 more attacks off with its Life Orb. So for all the coaching boosts it's getting, and we see Jump Luff, so good chances Charizard in the back. Yeah, Cinderace didn't have enough time left to run through this team anyway because there are 3 Pokemon left, and it only could take 2 more rounds of Life Orb damage, but it gets knocked out here by the Jump Luff, and all that's left is Riolu, which is not hitting very hard with the Bullet Punch. So the Reshirams forfeit, and they're going to have to regroup here going into Game 2. The whole Riolu game plan doesn't really work without Prankster, as we saw there. So I guess you just fall back on having strong Pokemon, right? Like, you could definitely make something happen from these other 5 Pokemon because they just hit hard. And if you position them well, that might be enough. Like, into something like that Mimikyu Electros lead, that actually is hard for this team to deal with. It looked a little bit weird to me at face value, but it makes sense now that I'm sort of reviewing. But I don't know, you bring Cinderace, you bring maybe like Jolteon. The point is, they got 5 strong Pokemon here. If they position them correctly and just throw off big damage, this is definitely still winnable, but it's really unfortunate that they're... Okay, we don't need to dwell on the Riolu stuff. I just suspect we won't see it again in this set. Okay, Cinderace and Jolteon are indeed the lead Pokemon against Electros and Mimikyu. This makes a lot of sense to me, right? Because Jolteon is going to be the fastest Pokemon on the field. I don't know what the Terra Water Mimikyu is doing. I guess maybe anticipating that Cinderace is about to attack it, but Jolteon is the fastest Pokemon on the field, and it's not really threatened by electric attacks from Electros. And between the 2 of these Pokemon, you can break Disguise and try to knock out Mimikyu before Mimikyu can really be a problem. So I do like that lead from the Reshirams. Jolteon actually just going for Electro Web, but that will break the Disguise. And is Cinderace attacking Mimikyu? It is. But, oh, it crits with Pyro Ball too, but that's then the Terra Water Mimikyu. I said that looked a little odd at face value. I wasn't thinking about Disguise at that moment. Jolteon was pretty much a sure bet to go before Cinderace, and obviously that means that Jolteon has to deal with the Disguise, so even if it throws off a Thunderbolt, it's only doing a tiny bit of damage this one turn. And then Mimikyu makes sure that it takes a hit from Cinderace by going for the Terra Water, so that makes perfect sense. The crit, it still did a lot of damage with the crit, but Mimikyu did survive. Jolteon actually takes a lot back from that knockoff. We see Trick Room go up. Here's the Primarina. Cinderace turning itself into a normal type by using Protect. Libero is kind of a funny ability. Of course, Cinderace, there was a time in Gen 8 when Cinderace was good in VGC, but I don't really think about Libero much these days. This is why I got confused by Cinderace being a bug type earlier. But yeah, it is now going to be a normal type until it switches out. That Play Rough is hitting really hard, so yeah, the Terra Water Mimikyu getting through that first turn is looking big here. The Wild Charge does a lot to Cinderace. I keep talking about how strong these Reshirams Pokemon are, but they're not. Some of them are not the bulkiest. But again, you just get the positioning right, do more damage than the opponent. You know, in the end, it's Pokemon. You just get your Pokemon in, play your matchups, do a lot of damage, and sometimes you win. And maybe we'll see that here. Mimikyu does finally go down, and yeah, Electros just drops that Pyro Ball. Pyro Ball Cinderace is so strong. And it's Jumpluff and Charizard in the back, and there's still 2 turns of Trick Room left, so as much as I've talked up all season how well Robbie has been positioning this multi-play style team, it's turning out kind of awkwardly now, right? The Reshirams had enough power. They were able to knock out the Mimikyu and the Electros more quickly than you'd like to see if you're Robbie. And now, 1 turn of Trick Room, okay, you could protect through it, but you still have 2 turns of your own Trick Room left. And the positioning has actually potentially gone kind of wrong here. Hyper Voice doesn't quite KO Charizard. It does a lot of damage, but Heat Wave misses Primarina. Cinderace is protected. Cinderace is in a little bit of an awkward spot because it's so fast, but Primarina is the slowest Pokemon on the board. And Jumpluff setting Sunny Day here means Charizard takes Solar Power damage. Charizard already down to 2%. It's only going to get through one more turn. And I don't see how you win this if you're the Porygons, because there's still another Pokemon in the back for the other team. And, okay, Trick Room's about to end, but that Jolteon is the fastest Pokemon here. Anyway, Charizard goes down because it had to take that Hyper Voice in Trick Room. And now Trick Room ends, just in time for Jolteon to come in. Jumpluff will actually be faster because of Chlorophyll. The Pollen Puff really doesn't do very much. And it's going to take an Electro Web and a Moonblast back. It actually does survive. And it's still faster than Jolteon, but Pollen Puff still just not hitting hard enough to KO. Jolteon will close this one out. So that's what I'm saying, right? The regional Reshirams, let's be honest, they were in a bit of a hole. Their Game 1 game plan really didn't work, and then Robbie got the Trick Room set up with the Mimikyu in Game 2. But the big strength here for the Reshirams is just the... I keep talking about just the sheer power, right? If Cinderace connects a Pyro Ball into something, chances are that Pokemon is going down. Unless it's a Mimikyu with Disguise intact, but the Jolteon took care of that. Maybe Charizard could take a Pyro Ball under some circumstances, but that Pyro Ball is just such a powerful attack. All it takes is one turn to go right, and the Reshirams are able to grab the momentum back. And again, the fast threats just came out too early because they were all the Porygons had left. And Primarina able to hit extremely hard with that Liquid Voice boosted Hyper Voice. Got the Charizard down to, you know, enough the Solar Power was taking it out. So it's still very much anyone's set as we head into Game 3 here. Because you never know when a Pyro Ball or a Sharpness boosted Psycho Cut or a big Hyper Voice or Sky Attack might turn this one around. But we do see Mimikyu and Electros leading for the third time. Cinderace and Porygon, Cinderace and Jolteon again. Jolteon this time Volt switching into Electros. That means that, so Mimikyu goes straight for the Terra Water again, I guess looking for that Trick Room again, but I don't know what Cinderace is going to do yet. Mimikyu is not taking big damage this turn. At most, this Disguise will be broken because the Jolteon chose not to go for it this time. Maybe the Reshiram's looking to get Primarina going quickly once the Trick Room is up. The Pyro Ball goes into Electros, but it misses. That's really unfortunate. I keep talking up how powerful the Pyro Ball is and how it can turn the game around, but it's not perfectly accurate, so it can also turn a game around the other way. Cinderace takes a lot of damage back, and I think Trick Room is going up here. It is, so Cinderace is in danger. Primarina just drops to a Wild Charge. We've already seen that it's Terra Water. And this is a little bit Game 1 coming back to haunt the Reshirams, because the Terra Water Primarina committed right away in that game and then didn't really accomplish all that much. And now Robbie knows that it's perfectly safe to click Wild Charge into that Primarina because, I mean, maybe Jolteon can come in. There's not much loss to that, because even if it does have Volt Absorb, it didn't take any damage anyway. It's not like you're healing it. But yeah, you know the Primarina can't Terra out of that Wild Charge, and it does just drop here. Mimikyu lands a Play Rough into Cinderace. It doesn't quite KO. It does get the attack drop. But Cinderace U-turning out. It'll get a chance to fight again. But the Primarina... Oh, no, it won't. Because I forgot it has the Life Orb. It narrowly survives the Play Rough, but then knocks itself out with U-turn, and all it managed to do was break the Disguise. What is there to say about this one? The Electros undersped the Primarina. That Pyro Ball miss then really stings for the Reshirams, because again, you need Pokemon like Cinderace and Primarina hitting hard to get through this, and Primarina didn't get a chance to attack at all, and it all starts with Electros still being on the field after dodging that Pyro Ball. Now we get Jolteon and Gallade. Trick Room's still up. Gallade takes a lot from that Shadow Sneak and is knocked out by the double up with Wild Charge, and Jolteon is not getting through this in Trick Room. The Volt Switch doesn't even KO Mimikyu there. I guess there was an intended Terra there that didn't go through. My best guess, because this has gotten some people in the PDL before, is if you click Terra and then cancel your move, you have to click Terra again. I've even been gotten by that sometimes when I thought I terrestrialized and I didn't. I don't know for sure that that's what happened, but it does happen sometimes. The Ursaluna made an appearance at the end of the set. Didn't really get a chance to do anything. Wait, that means that... Oh, okay. They have the same base speed. I didn't know that. Electros is slower than Ursaluna, or they were tying, but Robbie's a good player. They're probably not tying. But yeah, so much... I don't know. I guess the Ursaluna is always hard for the Reshirams to deal with here, right? But maybe the Primarina has something up its sleeve. Again, we know it's Terra Water. It's not like it's going to take a Facade better. So I don't know how much this one was decided by the Pyro Ball miss, but the Pyro Ball miss feels like a big deal because that left the Electros open to take out the Primarina. Again, knowing that it was Terra Water. I've said this whole thought process before. Yeah, you get it. But yeah, the Reshirams definitely still able to give us a show, showing you know how you can get here in the first place with powerful Pokemon like Cinderace, Primarina, and Gallade. They gave it a very solid effort, but the Peaceful Porygons, the #1 seed, still moving on now to the semifinals, and all that's left is to find out who their opponent is. As we go to the Varsity Farmboys taking on the Foraging Furrets. The Farmboys, of course, the defending champion that everyone feared to face, and the Furrets, the newcomer to the league with fairly consistent game plans week to week, that were just so strong and hard to deal with that they've coasted into the playoffs here anyway. That said, I don't see the Furret on their side of the field this time, or the Kingdra. It definitely feels like the Furret's coach is getting a little bit more serious, trying to make the Furret put in work throughout the regular season, and it legitimately did sometimes with the Choice Band or Choice Specs, but we've seen some more varied game plans and less focus on the Furret as the playoffs have approached, and here in the playoffs, yeah, no Furret on the board at all. The Trapinch is also really interesting here. Of course, Trapinch is a great Pokemon for threatening Blissey, which otherwise is a problem for Pokemon like Serperior, right? You probably want to... Serperior actually has a pretty decent chance to snowball in this matchup. It's a threat to the Greninja. It can snowball through the Archaludon, but then you have a problem with Blissey walling it, but not if you remove Blissey with the Trapinch. We don't see the Kingdra, so Kingdra is not... There's not that special attacker to worry about. There definitely might be a Perish Trap game plan because we see both of their trappers with the Politoed. But yeah, Trapinch, of course, it also has a trapping ability. Not as good as Shadow Tag because Flying types and Levitators are immune to it, but most of this team would be trapped by it, and Trapinch has that base 100 attack that you don't expect from such a cute little unevolved Pokemon. And then the Kleavor is here as well. Yeah, I see a couple of things here that look like game plans on the Furret side. Again, snowballing Serperior and removing walls like the Blissey. You also have the Gothitelle potentially able to threaten Venusaur. And then quite possibly a Perish Trap game plan. But I don't necessarily see the whole vision with Pokemon like Raichu and Kleavor just yet. And on the other side, Archaludon and Greninja. I don't know if setting up the Archaludon is a priority in this matchup, but certainly both those Pokemon can take advantage of an opponent's rain if you get the positioning right. Venusaur is here quite possibly to set up the Swamp combo with Greninja so that Pokemon like Swift Swim Kingdra, maybe that's why it's not here this week, or Scarf Kleavor, or even just Serperior with its naturally high speed stat, have trouble getting going in that speed control. The Mienshao could be very disruptive with Fake Out. Wide Guard if they brought Muddy Water Spam. It doesn't look like they have, but that could be useful to cover for that. And then we see the Altaria coming off. Oh, Blissey makes a lot of sense because Special Bulk has generally been very strong into the Furrets. I've talked about that when I played them before they picked up Kleavor. The Altaria we haven't seen in a while, but it makes a lot of sense, I think, because it gets Cloud 9, and the Furrets have brought a lot of rain-based game plans, but Altaria, of course, is, you know, depending on the positioning, the Farmboys might take advantage of the opponent's rain with Pokemon like Greninja or Archaludon, but they also do have the option to shut it down with that Cloud 9 ability from the Altaria. That said, I don't know what else Altaria necessarily does in this matchup, so we'll just have to watch and find out. So we got Archaludon and Greninja leading. I might have been wrong about not caring to set this up, but we'll see. Against Kleavor and Serperior. Serperior going straight for Terra Ghost, and Kleavor just knocks out Greninja immediately with a U-turn, so that is probably Scarf Kleavor then, right? Greninja is significantly faster in terms of base speed. But yeah, Greninja, the versatile, threatening Pokemon that gave co-coach Spooky a lot of trouble when we were matched up against the Farmboys. It just drops turn 1 in game 1 of this set. We see the Gothitelle come in now. Superior lands a Leaf Storm into our Chaladon. Doesn't do much damage, but Superior, of course, can boost up quickly with that +2 from Contrary. We see the Blissey come in now. Probably their best Superior answer, especially now that it's gone Terra Ghost. It's not going to be weak to a Sludge Bomb from Venusaur. And this could be the Assault Vest Superior that they've brought throughout the season. Gothitelle just faking out into our Chaladon, while Superior goes for another boost against the Blissey. Unfortunately for them, it misses the Leaf Storm. And here's that Calm Mind Blissey that the Farmboys have been bringing throughout the season. But we now see the Politoed come in, so there's almost certainly a Perish Trap coming here for our Chaladon Blissey. If the Politoed can get the Perish Song off, it took a lot of damage just switching in there. That said, Gothitelle sets Trick Room. But Blissey is slower than Politoed and knocks it out with a Thunder. Whoa, that's a bold play by the Varsity Farmboys. Obviously, Thunder, 30% chance to miss. It is mitigated by the fact that, by the way, that Politoed didn't have Drizzle. I only just noticed that. So that meant it had probably Water Absorb, because I don't think you bring Damp to this. The Garganackle, if it were here, could explode, but it's not likely going to. So Water Absorb Politoed. It'll be funny if that switches in on a Water Shuriken at some point. But yeah, no rain at all on the Furret side. It actually makes decent sense, I guess, because they didn't bring the Kingdra, and so the main thing that you're doing with rain, if you do bring it here, is you're powering up our Chaladon and Greninja. So that's some good thinking from the Furret's coach. I honestly just saw the Politoed and assumed rain. I kind of forgot it gets other abilities, I guess. But the point of all of this is the Blissey's Thunder would not be able to miss if rain were up. With rain not up, it has a 30% chance to miss, but even so, they just go for it. Slower than Politoed in the Trick Room, just fire off that Thunder and it connects, and there's no Perish Song to worry about in this game. That's a great play by the Farmboys. It's bold and it pays off. Now they do a lot of damage to Superior, and with the Trick Room up and Superior being fast, I don't think it's going to be able to snowball anymore. Lands a Leaf Storm into Blissey, unboosted, doesn't do very much damage. Okay, Gothitelle reverses the Trick Room. You need that for Superior and Kleavor to have a fighting chance. The Terra Blast does pretty good damage to our Chaladon, but Superior not taking another hit. Blissey just sets a Calm Mind. The Scarf Kleavor is now in. And also it's not Stamina or Chaladon. I haven't called that out yet. So, is there some chance that Kleavor can break through? Maybe, but what does it lock into here? Close combat on the Terra Ghost Blissey, and now Kleavor can't switch out, because there's nothing to switch out to. It just goes close combat into our Chaladon instead, but how is Gothitelle ever beating this Blissey? That Psychic did 6%. Kleavor now, with reduced defenses, drops to an Ice Beam from +2 Blissey, and here's the Venusaur, the last Pokemon for the Farmboys in this game. But yeah, Gothitelle is never beating Blissey. Blissey does miss a Thunder there, but that's not the Thunder that mattered. Gothitelle will knock out the Venusaur. It's just never breaking Blissey, but it actually dodges another Thunder. So this is good, right? If you're the Farmboys, you're using up your bad luck at exactly the right time. That's how it works, right? Blissey is 1 for 3 on Thunder connecting, but it landed the one that mattered. And there's another one that does connect. The Gothitelle goes down. That Combine Blissey put in so much work this game. That was amazing. Let's see what they've got for us in Game 2. The Politoed being undersped and knocked out by the Blissey. You have to rethink, if you're the Furrets, how to position that Perish Trap game plan, right? Because you might well need that to break through here. The Superior, I mean, it might be a different game if the Superior connects that second Leaf Storm into Blissey. So yeah, the Farmboys have been, I don't want to overhype it. It's not like crazy hacks or anything to land a Thunder and dodge a Leaf Storm, but they have been getting the luck where they need it. It might be a different game if that second Leaf Storm connects. Instead, Superior had to switch out and never really got the chance to get going. So there may be other ways still that the Furrets can break through, but yeah, positioning, it'll be interesting to see if they bring the Perish Trap plan again and how they change their positioning of it if they do. It's Greninja and our Chaladon leading again, this time against Raichu and Superior. Okay. So somebody from the last game is not here this time. Greninja gets Raichu with an upper hand. Of course, turning into a fighting type from Protean. Got Libero and Protean this week. So it gets Stab, and it makes the Raichu flinch. And it survives the Leaf Storm. Okay. Our Chaladon goes for Dragon Tail, trying to force Superior out and get rid of its boosts. And maybe the Farmboys haven't fully used up their bad luck yet, because the Dragon Tail misses. This feels like fair karma. I don't know. I'm not going to take a stance on that. Draw your own conclusions. I think it's a fair comment to make, because, again, I don't think the Farmboys were crazy lucky in Game 1, but they got the luck where they needed it, right? Superior now with the Terra Ghost. Our Chaladon has switched out to Venusaur, which is interesting. Greninja actually setting Rain Dance, so I guess if you bring a team that in part takes advantage of your opponent's rain, but then they don't actually bring rain, it doesn't hurt to have some rain of your own available. And we see the Fake Tears combo with the Raichu, which we've seen at other times this season, I think, but I'd honestly kind of forgotten about it. Weakening the Superior special defense, or the Venusaur special defense, so it's probably not going to take a Terra Blast now. And it doesn't. Now we get Mienshao. Helping Hand from Greninja, that's interesting, but Mienshao will take the Para from this Nuzzle, not running Limber. It does get Limber, right? No, it doesn't. Why do I always think this Pokemon gets Limber? But it doesn't, and it's paralyzed. Superior now showing the Giga Drain, knocking out Greninja. It will drop to a knockoff. Mienshao not fully paralyzed there. But it's now just that and our Chaladon, and here's the Kleavor, so there's no Perish Trap this game, that's what they left behind. Terra Dragon our Chaladon. Mienshao drops to a close combat. Endeavor Raichu, taking a good chunk off of our Chaladon's HP, but Kleavor will drop to a Flash Cannon. We'll see what the Furrets have in the back here. It's the Gothitelle. Of course, our Chaladon has turned off its Psychic Resistance. And Fake Tears. Oh, it's Stalwart our Chaladon. For a second, I was like, wait, did they not bring Lightning Rod Raichu? But of course they did. Yeah, I probably should have seen that coming. Stamina is not that valuable into the Furrets. They don't have a ton of physical attackers, and their main one is Kleavor, which, before Terra, has both of its stabs resisted by our Chaladon. And Choice Scarf is kind of an obvious item for it, so they'd have to be careful what they lock themselves into to really threaten our Chaladon with Kleavor. The point is, stamina boosts are not that valuable here. And if you want to use Electro Shot to take advantage of the opponent's rain, or set your own rain in this case, yeah, you don't want Raichu just absorbing it. So, of course it's Stalwart or Chaladon. That makes perfect sense, actually, but it will still drop to the Psychic. Just not getting enough damage into the Gothitelle there. And that means we're going to Game 3, and I don't know what's going to happen. This has been a great one so far. Both of these players bringing some really solid prep and some creative game plans. And who knows what surprises await. We still haven't seen the Altaria. I don't know whether it's going to do anything. We got Venusaur and Blissey leading against Raichu and Superior. So even Blissey, right, is only going to hold up so long against Fake Tears and Leaf Storm. And there's no upper hand Greninja on the field to shut down the Fake Out turn 1 this time. But it is Calm Mind Blissey. Well, we'll see what it can do. What it can do so far is just switch out. That's fair. You want to position it better a little bit later. We see Terra Ghost Venusaur avoiding the Fake Out is going to attack the Raichu. Mienshao almost drops to the Leaf Storm, not quite. It's Mirror Herb Venusaur. That's so cool. We get Mirror Herb Venusaur in against the Superior. They copy the Leaf Storm boost, and the Terra Ghost avoids the Fake Out from Raichu. I never thought of that for 1 second. That's so good. Sludge Bomb into Superior. Knocks it out. Never mind. The Raichu probably has a Focus Sash, right? But it doesn't matter if you can just get rid of Superior right away. That Mirror Herb Venusaur is amazing. Now the Kleavor is in. But it's probably not able to one-shot Venusaur, right? I mean, you do have Raichu to help. But Mienshao, it switched in last turn. This is first turn on the board. It can fake out the Raichu. So if this Stone Axe doesn't one-shot Venusaur, Venusaur gets another attack into something. It's Energy Ball into Kleavor. Kleavor just drops. And then here's the Gothitelle. So they never did try the Perish Trap again. I guess the Politoed was just too hard to position here. That's totally fair. Raichu will get to attack now. It'll paralyze Venusaur. And with the Terra Ghost, it avoids that close combat from Mienshao. So, okay, the Furret's still fighting, still in this. But Gothitelle chooses to knock out the Mienshao instead of the Venusaur. So Venusaur gets another chance to attack, and the Ghost Terra Blast just knocks out the Gothitelle. And now it's just Raichu, and here's the Archaladon, and you know there's Blissey in the back. Yeah, the Venusaur was just given too much time to do too much work. And I believe it took all 4 KOs in this game as a Terra Blast knocks out the Raichu there. Terra Ghost, Mirror Herb Venusaur, copying the Superior's setup. and using fake out pressure to make sure that it sweeps through the team. That Venu tech is insane. I absolutely agree. And, yeah, we need to reflect on this for a second. Game 1, the Calm Mind Blissey just ripping off Thunders, preventing the Perish Trap. Sure, it missed some of the Thunders, but at that point it didn't matter. He was able to just sit there and keep clicking until it connected. Game 2, what happened in Game 2? The Superior got going with the Raichu support, I think, but not in this game, that's for sure. And the Varsity Farmboys showing new levels of creativity with a team that we all thought we knew very well. We'll advance to the semifinals. So, semifinals next week. Peaceful Porygons versus Varsity Farmboys. Cryptic Cryogonals versus Phalanx. Any one of them could win the championship. I genuinely feel like there's no predicting what happens from here, and any one of them deserves to win the championship. Unfortunately, there are 4 deserving winners, and only one will actually get there, but yeah, there is nothing left to do except watch and find out who that is. This has been an incredible season, and it's not quite over yet. See you next week for the semifinals.